Yes, people, what's happening? Welcome back to Chelsea Fan TV and welcome back to another episode of the Chelsea Fan TV podcast. Before we get into today's episode, guys, make sure you smash the likes on the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And also leave your thoughts in the comments below if you agree or disagree with anything we've discussed in today's show. And obviously, Chelsea haven't been in action now for a few weeks. It's been a nice break so far. We're in the midst of the World Cup. Lewis, how have you found it without Chelsea for a few weeks? You enjoying it?
Enjoying not having Chelsea. I never thought I'd say that, but after the way we've played this season, I think it's good that we've had the little mental break. It has been a bit dead from a contents perspective, but I feel like we all needed it. And yeah, I think after a day or two of watching Chelsea, you might wish for World Cup football back. But it's been good. Bit of a slow start, couple 0-0 draws here and there, but now we've got into knockout stages. Everything means a lot more. It's much better. As everything from the last match day has been unbelievable.
Yeah, nice. But it's been a good tournament so far. But I'm enjoying it. I don't normally enjoy the World Cup that much, but this one, the action on the pitch has been pretty good. And there's still a lot of Chelsea players in action. And let's get straight into discussing a few of those. I want to start with Hakim Ziyech. Obviously, through to the quarterfinals with Morocco. First time in their history that they've made the quarterfinals. A fantastic achievement for them, knocking Spain out on penalties. He's had a superb World Cup. He looks like he's enjoying his football playing for Morocco. He's doing everything that we hoped he would do for us when we signed him from Ajax. I think for me, Ziyech is one of those where we know how good he is, but it's just not happened for him in the Premier League, whether that's because of a lack of trust from the manager, whether that's because of playing a back three system that doesn't really suit him. But for Morocco, he's the main guy. The manager's got full trust in him. Everything goes through him. Everything's built around him. You even see him in the game against Spain. He's even back in the right back position doing defensive work and stuff that, you wouldn't normally associate him doing in a Chelsea shirt. For you, mate, these performances at the World Cup, is this just adding some more value to his transfer fee for when he inevitably leaves Chelsea? Or do you actually think he deserves a bit more of a shot now?
All depends on what he wants, because right now, all we've heard is that he wants to leave. He's been trying to push for an exit. He's been respectful about it. I'll give him credit for that. But he has made it clear that he wants to leave Chelsea. In terms of the way he's been playing for Morocco, I didn't expect it to be this good, but I'm not surprised he looks a lot better than he does for Chelsea because he's simply more motivated there. He has something that he wants to push for with Morocco. Whereas with Chelsea, barely gets any game time, barely has any motivation to perform for us. I can't even judge it based off the way he's played for us because he's played so little. And he was decent against Man City in the Cup. I'll give him credit where it's due. He had a good performance. But I can't say it's a case of, he can't do this for Chelsea. He's just a very one-dimensional player and we don't play to that strength. If we played a 4-3-3 with a wide winger, I think Ziyech would be a great addition to the squad. If we had attackers who could actually do something consistently with the balls that he delivers into the box, I'd be even more for it. And hell, maybe he would work with Aubameyang. I don't know. I've never seen them play together. But it all depends on him. Right now, he's having a good enough World Cup that he should be starting as soon as he comes back. But that's if he wants to stay. It's all up to him, really.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. And I do think that he certainly, whether he deserves to start for Chelsea is a different conversation, but he certainly deserves to be getting more of an opportunity off the back of these performances than he has been so far this season. He's had virtually no opportunities to show what he can do. We know what he can do. Yes, I know that international football is slightly different. The way that Morocco plays different to Chelsea. The way the international game goes is very different to club football. Yes, you have to take that into account, but you also cannot discredit or discount these performances from Ziyech. And, to see him putting in these performances and then see what performances have been put in from attackers at Chelsea playing regularly this season, there really is no reason why he shouldn't be getting more of an extended run in the side to just try and see what he can do. I don't really think, do you think that we should just keep him for the rest of the season? I personally think I'd be against the January sale.
All depends on him again. If he wants to leave, his stocks are at an all-time high right now. I'd sell him straight, because right now we can literally point out what he's done to Morocco and say, this is what he's capable of. He's worth how much we say he's worth. If we wait another 6 months, maybe it's not the same energy. If he wants to stay, cool. if we can also implement a way to get the best out of him, there's no point in keeping him here just to rot. I understand why Ziyech wants to leave. That's why I don't really have any energy against him. Doesn't fit the way we play, needs to be the main man in the team, and we can't give him that. So, respectfully, yeah, you can go. Go and be a baller at another club like we all know you can be. But now he's doing a good thing for us because he's raising his own valuation.
I mean, do you think that Graham Potter will obviously no doubt be watching these games? He'll be fully aware of how Ziyech's performing. He'll be fully aware of how Christian Pulisic's performing and how they operate for their countries. Like, do you think he must be taking this on board and thinking, actually, do you know what? Maybe I need to change a little bit what I'm doing at Chelsea, slightly change the system, maybe change their roles to get the best out of them, because ultimately we're not going to be able to replace the whole forward line in one go. You know, he's going to have to improve what we've got. I think it's got to be on him as well to look at this and take note from what those respective national team managers are doing that's getting so much more out of them than he is.
Look at what the national teams are doing. They're getting the best out of Pulisic, they're getting the best out of Ziyech, and I think they're the two that we should be relying on. Like, I think a lot of people's World Cup performances have been very, not eye-opening, but it stamps the claim that a lot of people have had over certain players. Like, the players that everyone hasn't given a fair chance to are the ones that are performing. The players that have played consistently and have been consistently playing poor are doing the same thing for their countries. So I think Potter just needs to have a look at that, because it's the same names that have flopped for Chelsea that are flopping in their countries. The only ones that aren't are Pulisic and Ziyech. And that's not even fair to judge them because they don't get the same amount of game time. So I think Potter just needs to have a really big eye on the World Cup, because it's making a lot of claims, positively and negatively.
Yeah, no, 100%, mate. I mean, moving away from Hakim Ziyech and Christian Pulisic onto potential transfers, and which could maybe or maybe not involve Ziyech. Rafael Leao, a player that Chelsea have been linked with, having a fantastic World Cup, a superb goal coming off the bench against Switzerland. He's probably adding more and more value to his transfer fee each time he steps on the pitch in Qatar. What a player he is. How excited are you by having seen more of what he can do during this tournament? How excited are you by the prospect of him potentially coming to Stamford Bridge? And, you know, do you feel that's something that, you know, Chelsea and Todd Boehly really need to crack on with?
I mean, he's looked good in moments. I can see the technical ability there, but maybe I haven't seen him too much. But from what I've been looking at, he's mostly been a bench option for them. And it's a great option to have off the bench. Like, that's a perfect option in terms of the style of play, the strength and speed that he has off the ball, which could help in transitions. I get, but I haven't seen a lot from him, really. In terms of bringing him in, I wouldn't be against it. All depends on who leaves, personally, but Ziyech is going potentially. Havertz could be leaving potentially. Pulisic potentially. Aubameyang. Question marks on a lot of players. I think Leao's a good option for us. He'd be a good long-term investment. But still, you got to focus on other areas like the midfield first.
Yeah, no, 100%. And also with Leao, you know, if AC Milan have had an interest in Hakim Ziyech, so if there's potential to maybe include him as part of a deal for Rafael Leao, then I'm not saying that's definitely going to happen, but maybe that's an option that can be explored. We know Todd Boehly has tried a lot to try kind of player swap deals or players plus cash, you know, when he first came in. So maybe we might look to revisit that option with Ziyech in that Rafael Leao deal potentially. But yeah, look, he's one that's having a good World Cup, good option from the bench. And as you said, he would be a very good long-term option to kind of have. In terms of other Chelsea players in action at the World Cup, slightly worse news. What is going on with Edouard Mendy? Terrible World Cup for Senegal. I say terrible. First game against the Netherlands, at fault for both goals. He was better. It didn't have much to do against Qatar, and he was better against Ecuador. But again, against England in the last 16, he looked awful. I felt he should have done better with certainly the first goal from Henderson. I thought that was quite close to him. Could have at least got a hand to it. It just doesn't look like anything like the goalkeeper he was when he first arrived and when he won the AFCON with Senegal, when he obviously helped us win the Champions League and stuff. People saying he was perhaps the best goalkeeper in the world. Do you think, I'm starting to think that maybe, mate, he was just kind of an average goalkeeper that was just way outperforming his level. And now we're kind of just seeing what he really is.
I think we're seeing that for a lot of players.
And yeah, Edouard Mendy is one of the players who hasn't really come out with his head held high after this World Cup. Looked poor against England, looked poor against Netherlands. Didn't really stand out in any of the other performances. I don't think he's done anything too outstanding, but I'm also not really feeling any sort of way about it because we know Chelsea are looking to get rid of Mendy. We're looking for other goalkeeping options. I've just accepted it's the end of a time at Chelsea, and he did well. Did really well around 2021. He reached a peak that Kepa hasn't reached. And we can't forget he was genuinely world-class at that point. But right now, doesn't look anything like the player he was before.
It is mad, though, isn't it? Like to have someone that, all right, let's be honest, none of us have really heard of him before he come in. Recommendation from Czech, which is not exactly a bad thing, and plays really well. And then players do go through bad patches. Obviously, it's highlighted more when you're a goalkeeper because when you're playing badly, it normally leads to goals being conceded. And I still think there's a good goalkeeper in there, but I think it's clear that at the moment, it doesn't look like he's anywhere near reaching that level he was at for us. And it is a position that Chelsea, for me, can, if we want to win Premier Leagues and challenge for the big trophies, it's one that we can improve on. I do think that having Mendy or Kepa in goal is not conducive to us winning a Premier League title. I just don't look at them and think they're going to win us X amount of points and they're going to help us win a Premier League title. They're good goalkeepers, but I think for when you're going at the very top level, you need world-class goalkeeper. And unfortunately, they're not ticking either of those boxes. In terms of Koulibaly, obviously he was Senegal as well. What did you make of his tournament? He obviously got a goal against Ecuador. He looks okay. He's had a bit of a shaky start to Chelsea. He's not been as good as perhaps people might have expected him to be, given how well he's done at Napoli. Do you think his performances were better in this World Cup?
Sorry, who are you mentioning again?
Koulibaly.
Yeah, Koulibaly's been much better. And partly is the reason because he's been playing in the back too. I think people are really harsh on his England performance. England were much better as a whole. There was a few errors in the second half, but the game was already dead and gone by that point. Overall, I think he's had a very good tournament. Looks really solid and composed. It is a slower tempo in the World Cup, which suits him a lot more. I don't know if he'll do the same thing in the Premier League, but I think he just needs some time to adapt, and he'll be the same defender that we've seen for Napoli over the last few years.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I agree. I see him coming in for a lot of criticism for that performance against England. I mean, Senegal are nowhere near as good as England. It was always going to be a tricky ask for them to get anything out of the game. As I think, criticism of his performance is a little bit unfair. Yes, at times his passing out from the back wasn't the best, but I don't think he had a particularly bad game. And I'm not sure kind of how much more people could really expect from him in that situation. Let's move it on to England then. We might as well. It's World Cup. Obviously, Sterling hasn't really been involved too much. He's obviously now flown back due to armed robbery taking place at his home. Whether he's going to fly back out and join up with the squad remains to be seen. Mason Mount has, started against Iran, had a good game, was poor against the US, and then has found himself out the team ever since that game. What have you made of his performances at the World Cup? And do you think England are actually better without him? Well, I think they evidently are.
It just shows the way England have been playing, and it's another thing to knock Mason Mount with, sadly. But the form just speaks for itself. He hasn't had the best World Cup. He's continued to look inconsistent. He had a good game against Iran, but was invisible against the US. He's been dropped for the last 2 games, and England look a lot more solid as a result of it. And I've already said Mason Mount shouldn't be starting the France game, partly because they're playing better without him, partly because if they do and England lose, he's just going to be a scapegoat. And that's going to be the worst thing that he needs. So, yeah, he hasn't had a good World Cup. He hasn't had a good season in general, which just makes the contract negotiations look even crazier right now. But it's up to him to prove people wrong.
Yeah, I think the balance looks a lot better without him in there. I think Henderson, obviously, I don't think Henderson is a better footballer than Mason Mount necessarily. I think that's a fair thing to say, but the balance works much better. Him alongside Bellingham gets a lot more out of Jude Bellingham than it does with Mount alongside him. I think Henderson allows Bellingham that license to get forward and operate as that box-to-box midfielder. Whereas when Mount's there, I think he's kind of tries to pick up a lot of the same positions that Bellingham looks to pick up, and they kind of cancel each other out. But yeah, I mean, from an England perspective, mate, how do you see the game against France going? Because we kind of breezed through the group-ish, 7 points, easy group. Everyone expected us to go through. Senegal in the last 16, again, a game where not really a test. Yes, the first 35 minutes were poor, but once that first goal went in, there was only ever going to be one winner. This is the first real big test for England. Probably the best team I think we probably faced. It's in Gareth Southgate's tenure. We've never faced a team as good as France. We've never beaten a team as good as France. This is the first time where, this is a big test in terms of how good are England, and can we actually beat a team that is at the top of their game? That's the big question for me. I mean, how confident are you feeling about this England side?
I think they're getting knocked out on Saturday. I'll be real with you, but I didn't expect anything more than this. The way the brackets were built out, it looked like they were going to get France anyway. They have got France. I don't think England are better than France. If they get a result, fair enough. They could potentially see their way through to the semi-finals. I don't know. I don't expect it to happen. I expect France to beat them. But England have still had a good tournament in spite of that. They've gone as far as I expected them to go. Can't criticize anything to do with that. It would have been a good tournament from them.
Yeah, I think obviously having got to the quarterfinals, to the semi-finals of the last World Cup, the final at the Euros, you're kind of thinking, we need to get to at least another semi-final, or hopefully try and get to a final. But unfortunately, you can't keep having good tournaments. You can't keep getting kind of lucky draws and having everything going in your favor. Eventually, things are going to go against you. It's going to be tough, and you will kind of face an early exit. I do agree. I do think that this is probably going to be a step too far for England in terms of just the quality that France have got. I know, look, England have got good players, but the thought of the likes of Dembele, Mbappe, Giroud up against the likes of Maguire, Luke Shaw, and John Stones is a little bit of a concern. I think the matchup in midfield with kind of Henderson and Bellingham up against Tchouameni and Rabiot is going to be really important. And Mbappe is going to be the key. Can England keep Mbappe quiet? That's going to be the big question. But I don't know. I think England can win. I don't expect them to. Of course they can, but it's going to require literally everything to go right. They've got to do everything spot on. They can't make any mistakes. They can't afford to start slowly. I don't know if you agree, but I've noticed that apart from the first game, England has started every game really slowly. In terms of, first half performances in all their games have been pretty poor. First 35 minutes against Senegal was dreadful. And, start that slowly against a team like France, and you could find yourself out the game at half time.
I think the best thing that they could do is just sit deep. If they sit deep and try and hit on transition, it's the best way to get the best out of those players and leaves them less exposed. That England defense ain't good enough. It's not good enough to actually try and play out from the back and dominate the game. They're just going to get done. So, sit deep, try and absorb pressure, make the most of key moments. Maybe they can get something. It's not impossible. It's not an absolute gulf in class between the two sides, but France is definitely better.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. I mean, let's just round this out, mate, with just a quick few transfer updates in regards to Chelsea. I think a few days ago it was reported that N'Golo Kante doesn't seem to be any nearer to signing a new contract. He's probably going to leave on a free transfer. We've discussed this a lot at length, but now that seems to be coming kind of to its conclusion, do you think the right decision for the club to let him go?
I've been saying it for the last few months. Unless he's willing to take a pay cut, I don't really understand keeping him. Unless he's willing to take less than 3+1 or even 2+1, there's no point. Like, it's best for both parties that Kante leaves, goes to another club. I think Serie A would be perfect for him because it's a lot slower, and I think someone of his play style and also someone with his injury record would do a lot better in that sort of league. But it's up to him. It's up to him. Like, I don't expect him to stay. I think he's looking for his last big contract, and fair enough, but he shouldn't be getting it here. We need to move on. We need to upgrade our midfield. Just leave as a legend, and that's fine.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the time has come for a parting of ways. It doesn't really make any sense to keep him unless it's on reduced terms, maybe even something like pay as you play until he can prove he's actually fit. I don't think he would ever accept that. And I think, a natural parting of the ways is the best way forward. In terms of kind of obviously Nkunku is all but done. I think that the here we go is just imminent on that one. How pleased are you to see Chelsea getting a big deal done for next summer already, given the fact that they're now allowing Nkunku to have a full pre-season at Chelsea next season and be ready to kind of hit the ground running? Are you pleased to see the club heading in this direction, signing up kind of young talent under the age of 25, getting deals done early to give them the best possible chance of being able to hit the ground running for next season?
Yeah, it's good for now. I still need to see how our infrastructure gets laid out, how we move after we have a director of football. But we're looking at some interesting names. I don't want to hype them up too much because I've seen what our record has been like with transfers, but they are exciting. They are exciting. It all depends on who we can get rid of it as well. And there still needs to be a lot more replacements, but it's good times right now, at least.
Yeah, no, it definitely is, mate. What out of those names you've seen, what ones are exciting you the most?
Endrick, if we can get him. If we
Yeah,
can
it's
get
gonna
him.
be
But I
tough.
don't think that one's likely. More likely to get the likes of Andre Santos, maybe Zaharian. Zaharian
Yeah.
could bring us some creativity that we desperately need, but I still don't know if any of them make it into our first team squad immediately.
No, I don't think they do. I mean, you look at someone like Zakarian, who's having a great season in the Russian league. Obviously, you know, the Russian league to the Premier League is a huge step up. And it's interesting to see how we're kind of looking to accumulate a lot of those number 8 profile players. You know, it would be Zakarian, it would be Chukwuemeka, it would be Casadei. You know, we're really. How do you feel about the club's kind of new direction of wanting to build the majority of the squad as young players under the age of 25? Do you think that's the right way to go?
Yes, but we also need to sprinkle some experience with it. So if we have the right experienced heads around the squad, yes, but a squad that's too young is also too inexperienced. So you need the good mix.
Yeah, no, yeah, I think that's kind of spot on. You want like obviously plenty of young talent coming through and you know making up the bulk of the squad, but you know you've got to have some experience in there, some know-how, some leadership that you know that would complement it nicely. But yeah, seems like a good place to round out this episode, guys. If you've enjoyed this episode, make sure you leave your thoughts in the comments below. Smash the likes on the video. Subscribe to Chelsea Fan TV if you haven't done so already. Make sure you check out Lewis's channel, Carefree Lewis G, and subscribe to my channel as well if you haven't done so already. And we will be back with another episode soon. So take care, guys.